For the Chicago Sun-Times, Roger Ebert calls this film a lighthearted and goofy musical comedy about a love affair between an extraterrestrial and a manicurist. Hal Hinson of the Washington Post calls it the movie equivalent of cheap champagne. Even though it's lousy, it still gives you tickles up the nose. And Letterboxd user Vivian asks, when will Jeff Goldblum raw me until I can't walk? On this episode of Ruined Childhoods, we decide the fate of Earth Girls Are Easy.
Sequel. Reboot. Which one will it be? It's the Ruined Childhoods podcast.
Or greetings, starfighters.
You couldn't have just memorized that? You had to play it off of a phone?
Yes. I'm going for authenticity, and I did not want to stumble or fumble that because pride, just pride, okay?
Okay. Well,
you know what? Yes, and you know what, John? No one would have known. No one would have known. You blew my spot. No one would have known. That sounded so authentic, and you blew my spot.
I'm sorry, Dan. Hey, everybody.
I'm done. No, that's it.
Welcome to Ruined Childhoods. I'm your only host now because Dan has just quit the show. And I want to thank you for listening to this podcast that I am now doing all by myself, all about cult and classic movies and what we would do if we were to bring them back nowadays.
Oh,
Dan, do you want to just stay around for a little bit?
You know, I put the time aside anyway. I'm just going to sit here and I'm going to want to respond and take part. So why would I deprive myself of that?
Awesome.
Shall we let bygones be bygones?
Hey, water's under the bridge. It's all good.
I wanted it to be a little bit of a surprise, so I didn't tell you ahead of time. That was what was happening. So, yeah. But we're talking about Earth Girls Are Easy today, a movie that uses some reverse dialogue. And I watched Tenet last night.
Oh, you finally watched Tenet.
So that was not recorded. That was the inverted greetings, starfighters. Yes. So, well, yes, no, I finally,
it's on HBO Max.
It's on HBO Max. The stars aligned so that my wife Alicia and I both had, we both had really long and challenging weeks, and so we kind of were just both too spent to do anything more than sit on the couch and watch a movie. And I was like, this is the moment. Like this, we need to seize this because this is a movie, first of all, that we would both want to watch, because otherwise it would be like me wanting to watch, something like Earth Girls Are Easy, and her wanting to watch like a State of Play. Or
she wouldn't be in Earth Girls Are Easy.
I don't think because it's not that she wouldn't get it, but being so she grew up in Belgium, for those who are unfamiliar, and was also a little young. So like the humor of this Southern California Valley Girl satire. Yeah, I don't know how much of that would click with her. And I think, it's like visually it's a treat, but so I don't know
if Belgium has an equivalent to the Valley or had one in the 80s. I'm not expecting you to have an answer. I'm just posing the question here. Because this movie exists because of the thought the 1980s Valley people are so dense that they could be surrounded by aliens and nobody would notice. So it's like, and what would be the Belgian equivalent to that?
Well, and it's also so specific because it's not just like any valley. They're talking about the San Fernando Valley.
Right. They're not talking about like Sun Valley, Utah, or where I live, the Willamette Valley.
Right.
It's the Valley. Everyone in America knows what Valley Girl means, or the Valley.
if you were cognizant of the 80s and
right. I mean, it's a very specifically 80s, maybe even early 90s kind of thing.
Yeah. Oh no. I mean, I would say mid to late 80s. Like, I think Earth Girls Are Easy was like right there, or at least when it was filmed, because it was filmed. It kind of got shuffled a little bit on its way to release, and it.
So 85, 86.
Well,
maybe?
I think it was shot in 87.
Okay.
I'm gonna double check myself.
Because it came out in 88. Yeah, and for anybody, we're just getting right into it. For anybody who isn't familiar with this movie, it's one of a special series of films starring both Geena Davis and Jeff Goldblum while they were in a relationship together, which started Transylvania. Well, I mean, but Transylvania 65000, and then The Fly, and then. Which I don't know if they were married at that point. They were married at this point in Earth Girls Are Easy.
Yeah. I think they got married between the two.
Yeah.
I think it was like things started during Transylvania 65000. They really picked up during The Fly. And then I think Earth Girls Are Easy was the... Well,
if I'm remembering correctly, and this is my own memory of my friendship with Jeff Goldblum and Geena Davis, is that they were, I'm kidding, by the way, is that Jeff Goldblum was hired onto The Fly and then suggested his girlfriend, Geena Davis, who, as we know, has been in movies, obviously Transylvania 65000, Tootsie being her first, and, she was kicking around for a bit, and then he suggested her for The Fly. Veronica, I believe, was her name in that, which I watched recently, and it was confusing because her name is Valerie in this. So, it's a lot to juggle up there.
A lot of names, yeah. I don't know, and then then Geena Davis had a huge couple of years. So Earth Girls Are Easy went into production in late 1987, and it wasn't released until May 1989. How do I remember? It
wasn't
this
released
so
till 89?
No, it was May 89, and I know this because I remember going to see it.
I wonder if it had like a limited
Rialto.
I wonder if it had a limited release earlier than that.
No, there were legal issues. As per Wikipedia, the most credible source on the internet. But no, I don't think there'd be any reason to lie about this.
Wikipedia is relatively reliable. If I see that something has been cited, I'm willing to call that, as much fact as one could possibly call something.
I recently did it. I'm going to fess up. I recently did a demonstration for my students to show them that it wasn't just like a tall tale that teachers tell, that like Wikipedia can be really easily altered. So I did a under 5-minute demonstration, and I did that. So
did you edit a page or something?
I edited my school's page, and so there's a little section now about the rooftop heated pool.
Oh, interesting. So much like our high school growing up, there is also a legend of a pool on the top floor of your school.
Yes, it's fascinating because, and I wonder, send us an email, ruinedchildhoodspod@gmail.com. Did your high school have a mythical pool that was like only the seniors could use? Or
I want to take it even a step further, but in addition to that, any other myths about your schools growing up, much like there is a pool on the whatever floor, the 5th floor, or whatever it is. I'm curious to know, because I feel like hometown lore is something that it's necessary in order for a small community to survive and to thrive, is having some mystery. and
it's so
having little tales that people tell from generation to generation.
And it's fascinating to see which ones are consistent, because for anyone who not in the know, I teach at a school in Seattle, and John and I went to high school in New Jersey. So we are talking geographically,
forget it.
Very far. So what is it with the rumored, what other rumors were there? Like, was it a bowling alley at your school? Like what?
A bowling alley? Ooh, that'd be fun.
I don't know. And I don't like, maybe we should, and we're just spitballing here, but maybe we should like think about, I'm trying to think if there's like movies about this. I know there's like the movie Urban Legends.
Yeah, but that's a little different. Let's think about this. Maybe we've got a theme month cooking right now. You're hearing it happen live. So why don't I get into a synopsis of Earth Girls Are Easy? You have something?
Well, just to clarify, so you mentioned it having an early release. It debuted at the Toronto Festival of Festivals in September 1988, and it was supposed to be released in February 89. It was released in May 89, and I remember the song "'Cause I'm a Blonde" was a big hit, and I remember being really interested and excited to see this movie. So synopsis away.
And this movie was not just co-starring, but was also written and I believe produced by Julie Brown of MTV, and I don't know if I'd say comedic music fame.
Yeah, and not to be confused with MTV's Downtown Julie Brown.
No, and I really feel bad for her that is something that always needs to be said as a qualifier next to her name, but it happens.
Which Julie Brown do you feel bad for? Both of them?
I feel bad for Earth Girls Are Easy Julie Brown, because Downtown is the one that people think of the most.
Yeah.
Because I don't think that people are saying like Downtown Julie Brown, not Earth Girls Are Easy Julie Brown. But they worked together at MTV, and, paired with Julie Brown on this was Julian Temple, the director, who has a background with the punk music scene and had done a lot of music videos with David Bowie, Neil Young. I mean, you think of any like big musician around like the 70s and 80s, he's probably done some sort of music video for them. He did like a documentary, like a Sex Pistols documentary very early on. He was just kind of in that music film world. And that's what kind of made him a very, I don't know, I think pretty good choice for this movie.
Oh, yeah. Fantastic. And also just to add to that, Julie Brown's co-writer on this movie was her, at the time, husband, Terrence E. McNally, not to be confused with Tony Award-winning playwright Terrence McNally, who wrote the screenplay he wrote Love, Valor, Compassion. Yeah, he's also written... Yeah.
People might know him as Downtown Terrence McNally.
I mean, in some circles, yes, probably.
More of a midtown Terrence McNally, probably. No,
downtown.
I don't know his work.
No. Anyway, there were some films. He wrote the. You would know his work. He wrote the book for the musical, The Full Monty.
Oh, okay. But this is not the Terrence McNally that Julie Brown was married to.
No.
Right. No. We're talking about a completely different person.
Which at first when I was watching the credits and I was like, oh, wow, that's great. I'm like, yes,
it would make a lot of sense.
It did make a lot of sense because Terrence McNally's very witty, humorous playwright. And I thought, I was like, oh, yeah, no, that would make sense. But no.
Not the same guy. Interesting.
Different guy.
Okay.
This is out-of-town Terrence McNally.
Out of town. All right. Are we ready to synopsize?
Yes, more than.
Okay. And I will say this. If you haven't seen this movie, you got to watch it. It is such a delight. And I think that it would appeal to most generations. It would definitely appeal to like Gen Zers, clearly millennials and Gen Xers that can watch this and appreciate the satire and the ridiculousness of it. And it's fun. So
I think, yeah.
Valerie's life is simple. She lives in the Valley, she's a popular nail artist at a SoCal beauty parlor, and she's engaged to a doctor named Ted. But when Valerie discovers that Ted's been cheating on her, she kicks him out and feels lost and devastated. But what she doesn't know is that a trio of horny aliens accidentally got too horny and crashed their ship directly into Valerie's pool. Stunned at first, and convinced that she's having a delusional episode, Valerie finds herself inside the alien aircraft with the 3 primary colored fuzzy humanoid ETs. Though they don't speak the same language, they're able to figure out how to effectively communicate. Valerie brings them inside her house and feeds them some Pop-Tarts while she calls Woody, her pool guy, to drain her pool so the ship can take off. The aliens find everything fascinating, including the television, which they mimic perfectly. Woody arrives and tells Valerie that the drain will take a day or so. Not knowing what else to do, Valerie brings the aliens, Mac, Zebo, and Whiplock, to her friend Candy at the beauty parlor. Candy is all about giving makeovers, so she shaves the aliens, gives them dye jobs, and assigns them fresh sets of threads. As they emerge, Valerie is beyond impressed, especially with Mac. After a night of Zebo's dancing, Whiplock making out with Candy, and Mac learning about the concept of Mr. Right from Valerie, it was time to go home. Unfortunately, Ted decided to come to the house to try to win Valerie back, but before she and the aliens get home, Ted thinks that there was a robbery, so he calls the police. When Valerie gets home, she tells him that her 3 friends are because she won an MTV Win a Band contest and they have to stay with her. As he tries to beg for her forgiveness, Mac, Zebo, and Whiplock run amok and piss off Ted. When the cops get there, they end up taking Ted for harassing Valerie. She begins to get upset and retreats to her bedroom. Mac follows her in and offers to make her feel better. She refuses, but changes her tune fairly quickly, and they have a night of passion. After a funky nightmare, Vivian wakes up next to Mac and is in a great mood. Valerie wakes up next to Mac, is in a great mood. Man, these V names.
Did Geena Davis ever play a Vivian?
What's that?
Like, did Geena Davis ever play a Vivian?
I don't know, but Vivian is the name of the letterbox user I mentioned in the intro. Who wants to be
yes.
Rawed by Jeff Goldblum, which is what happens. Well, I know, that's exactly. I'm sure that's exactly what happened. So Valerie wakes up next to Mac, is in a great mood. She entices Mac and the boys with some homemade pancakes while Woody finishes draining the pool. He, Zebo, and Whiplock get to talking, and Woody decides to help them find babes at the beach, where there's a blonde contest going on. On their way, Whiplock and Zebo accidentally hold up a gas station and steal Woody's car, leading the cops on a high-speed chase which ends in a crash. Mac and Valerie catch up and realize that if Whiplock and Zebo get arrested and or brought to the hospital, they will be found out and dissected. She gets herself and Mac arrested, but Mac uses his love touch to get the 2 arresting officers to fall in love with one another. They take Mac and Valerie to the hospital, where Ted has already begun examining Zebo and Whiplock, discovering that they each have 2 heartbeats. Valerie and Mac disguise themselves as doctors and interrupt Ted, but he figures them out. Luckily, they are able to escape home, where the aliens rush to take off in their ship before Ted can get to them. Mac zaps Ted and Valerie with a love zap, and they start to make out, but Valerie's love for Mac is too strong, and she demands to be taken back to their home planet with them. So, Geena Davis plays Valerie, not Vivian, and Jeff Goldblum plays Mac, Damon Wayans plays Zebo, and Jim Carrey plays Whiplock. Candy's played by Julie Brown. We have, Ted is played by the absolutely incredible Charles Rocket.
Pour one out.
Yes, absolutely. And Woody Rocket is played by Michael McKean, who is just absolutely amazing. And I want to just play a clip from when we first meet Woody.
Hey, how's it going?
Hey, Woody.
What's that you're sitting on? Some kind of a giant boogie board?
No, it's my new pool patio. Bitchin', huh?
It's pretty rad. Whoa, shoot the curl, kitty. Those little guys love the water, don't they? Listen, Valerie, how come you want your pool drained?
How come? I don't know. You know, the water just seems really stale or something.
I've seen a lot of that.
So, how long is this going to take?
Oh, about a day. Whoa, check out the sets, man. If I was 6 inches tall, I'd be out there right now. They were pumping like that this morning.
I don't believe you.
No, for real. And I was getting barreled in this totally cool tube. I had just sex waxed my board, really preem. Some hot dog shoots his board, hits me right in the head. Look at that.
This is the worst.
Yeah, it would have been the ride of the decade, too.
Well, what am I supposed to do until tomorrow?
Waste your brain, wax your board, pray for waves.
I just love that scene. I feel like Michael McKean nails every aspect about it. He looks great. He sounds perfect. And I don't know if he incorporated anything to his lines, but everything he says is so great. When he's talking about the 6-inch like waves, he's talking about like the pool, the movement of the pool water, and when she's like, the waters just feel stale, and he's like, I've been seeing a lot of that lately. Yeah, it's like, what?
Well, that's what makes it work, because if you had, like, you need to find that character that is just the right level of oblivious,
just burnt out.
Yeah, exactly. And it's also like, it's another common stereotype of that, like, you know, of the mid to late 80s California surfer dude. Yeah. That, you know, we see so much of that. I mean, Back to the Beach is another. I mean, we see so much of that.
Well, and it's funny that you mentioned Back to the Beach, because I was thinking a lot about Back to the Beach and how it's similar to this movie, because they don't exist in our universe where like laws of logic apply. You know, like people do and say things that people just kind of accept as being normal or don't even think twice about. And there are characters like the neighbor with the crazy beehive and stuff. It's like, she doesn't exist in our reality. It's just very different. And then there's like, you know, out of nowhere musical numbers like Bird's the Word with Pee Wee Herman. Right. I mean, and Jamaica Ska and stuff like that. But I'm thinking of Bird's
California
the Word.
Sun,
yeah, California Sun.
We could go on.
Yeah. And then, but I'm pretty sure, doesn't Pee Wee Herman take off on a surfboard? Yes. So it reminds me a lot of that, or it reminds me a lot of like Grease, where there's musical numbers and then a car just takes off and
just
it's like
flies off at the end. Yeah,
just flies off. So it's like these movies, especially these comedic musicals, they tend to defy logic. I thought a lot of also like Little Shop of Horrors and stuff like that, where it's like, you know, silly musicals that, you know, were really popular at that time, in Grease a little bit earlier too.
And they allow, and it being a musical and taking it out of reality allows you to do things like play on stereotypes, which this movie does. I always, in my teaching job, when I teach my unit on satire, I usually, like, when we're talking about stereotypes, I usually start with "'Cause I'm a Blonde" and play that video. Well, yes, because, you know, getting into the topic of stereotypes, it can be, you know, awkward, and it's, you know, it's a sensitive line. So to say that, okay, well, we're going to watch something that makes fun of like white blonde women. It's also so over the top that, and it's also so outdated that it doesn't offend anybody, and I can teach about stereotypes in an effective way, because
there's also part of it that makes me feel like it's not making fun of blondes as much as it's also making fun of the stereotype of blondes. Right. You know, which luckily isn't a joke that is made so much anymore. You used to hear that a lot in the 80s and 90s, you know, the dumb blonde stereotype that who knows who made that up. And it's a, you know, 'Cause I'm a Blonde was a song that Julie Brown wrote, and I believe she had released it prior to this movie coming out. But like, I believe they just needed to like fill time in the movie, so they kind of wrote it in. And I'm just gonna play, because the way that they lead into it is kind of bananas.
But before you do, I mean, I just want to point, like, as talking about this song, I mean, the other songs in the movie as well, but especially this one, that's a good point that it is taking on that stereotype, and every line in it is just, it's so funny.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of that song on many levels. So.
Yeah, and I don't know if I'm going to play the entire thing, but you'll get the point.
I encourage you to seek it out.
I just remembered something. What was it? Oh yeah, at the beach today, they're having a Blind of the Month contest. Blind? Yeah, you know, blind beach bunnies, California's finest.
All right, so
so speaking of breaking the bounds of reality, you have Julie Brown, who is playing a character in this movie now as this other character.
Yeah.
We assume. I assume it's not Candy. It's
just blonde at beach.
Yeah.
Oh, what a ridiculous song.
And it's there's this very, I don't want to say like quasi 1950s feeling to it all. I mean, like the design of the spaceship is, I don't know. It's.
Yeah. I mean,
it's
they're
like
not
old school sci-fi.
Right. Well, they're not doing, because like the whole intro is them in space, and it shows it's like they're not trying to make it look realistic at all. And that's good and on purpose. It's not because it's being cheap. It's because it wants to give you this like Pee-wee's Playhouse idea of like, you know, what the tone of this movie is.
Kind of like meets tonally like Mars Attacks almost.
Sure. Yeah.
Like it's not, you know, there's not a lot of similarity.
Yeah.
But I feel like like that's the type of tone that they're going for.
Right.
Is this kind of cheesy, retro, like just shut your brain off. Don't think too hard about it and enjoy it.
Right. And also, you know, as you alluded to in the beginning of the show, their language is just English, but the words are all backwards. So I don't think that they're trying to like fool anybody with like a new language. It's kind of just like these guys are just like strange and, you know, I don't know.
Well, you shave them down and it's the guy from Once Bitten and the guy from I'm Gonna Get You, Sucker. Like,
yeah, right. Beverly Hills
Cop. Or the
Cop.
guys from In Living Color. Yeah, you know.
Well, In Living Color was yet to happen.
Yeah,
right.
It was very soon after.
Speaking of that, I want to play the bit where where Julie Brown Candy has just finished doing the makeovers.
Oh, it's great.
Okay, Val, are you ready? I think they're almost done.
Okay, with the big red one, I went for the blonde surfer look.
Jim Carrey.
Wow. Which one is that?
Look, we are human now.
I don't believe it. He's even cute.
I know, bitchin', huh? Val, you won't believe this. Okay.
Surprise! Is that Zebo?
Oh my God, you're like totally black.
That's Zebo mimicking Candy.
Okay, and behind door number 3, this is the ultimate.
Jeff Goldblum coming out of the steam.
The ultimate.
You're incredible.
Well, it was easy. You know, I started on poodles.
Good.
Real good.
I love it. Jeff Goldblum.
The ultimate.
Jeff Goldblum it's so funny because he, you know, he's not like traditionally handsome. He has like very big features in his face. But he really sells it. He's in great shape, obviously. He's always been in awesome shape.
Just ask Vivian.
Just ask Vivian. That's right. So it's really fun the way they do this. And I also like that the only mention of Zebo being black is that joke, which totally works. It's, it's funny. I don't know. It really, it's great.
No, it's just a passing. It's like, I mean, as much as so much of this movie is not believable within the world of this, that is totally believable.
Yeah, and
that he's,
I do want to talk a little bit about Jim Carrey and Damon Wayans, because as we were saying, it's like they haven't even done In Living Color yet. They've barely been in anything. Jim Carrey has had like a couple of things. I think some like TV Canadian things.
Jim Carrey by this point. Well, Once Bitten, Peggy Sue Got Married.
Right? But he was, even more of a bit character in that.
Yeah. He wasn't like the Jim Carrey. This was right. I mean, In Living Color boosted him to Ace Ventura. Then like 1994, we could do a whole month about
Jim Carrey.
Yeah. Seriously. Mm-hmm. So
Dumb and Dumber. Yeah.
Dumb and Dumber, The Mask, that was all,
crazy.
5 years after this. So.
I know, yeah. And Damon Wayans, obviously of the Wayans acting and comedy dynasty. I mean, he had been tiny little parts in things, but this was a good way to highlight his silliness. Mm-hmm. And I don't know how much of that dancing he does in the dance-off scene, but that scene's
that dance-off
fun.
Scene, that is fantastic. That guy who comes in,
the zoot suit
with
guy,
his cane, the zoot suit and the cane.
Yeah, and so these aliens, they're incredible mimics. So when he's watching this guy dance, he's like, "Bet you can't do this," and he like does it and then some. It's like,
at almost exactly the same moment.
Right. Yeah, there are certain times when they're doing the same dance at the same exact time. And it's just like, it's just fun. Like that nightclub, whatever that nightclub is, I mean, clearly it's just, the exterior is the Griffith Observatory in LA and, with like neon lights on it and stuff, which must have been really fun to shoot, even just the exterior of that, because changing the appearance of the Griffith Observatory to make it look like an 80s nightclub is wild. But what a fun club.
Yeah. I'm not the club going type, but I dare say I would have a good time. I don't know. I would think that looks like a fun club to go to. I don't know. No, I'm like, I still wouldn't go for it, but they have a great time.
Yeah. I'm happy that they're there doing their thing, and it's a lot of fun. And a staple of especially this era of Jeff Goldblum movies, he's got to find a way to get in there and get on that piano, tickle those ivories.
Oh, well, they set it up great with the Nutty Professor scene, where and that he's a mimic, so naturally he busts out the Jerry Lewis Nutty Professor moves, but of course we know. We, the educated viewer, knows that is Jeff Goldblum tickling those ivories.
Right. And he also does it in The Fly. He just in the very beginning takes Veronica back to his home, immediately just sits down he's a scientist. He's got a piano. All right. Sits down and starts playing some amazing music on the piano. So Jeff Goldblum just flexing.
Well, I heard, spoiler alert, in the new Jurassic World movie, that's actually kind of how he calms the dinosaurs, is he just kind of
tickles the ivories.
His smooth sounds.
Yeah. I love it. And
he does look super. He is super cool though when he's playing the piano.
Oh my God. Well, of course, because he's mimicking. I can only think of the name from the
Buddy Love.
Buddy Love. Yeah. Was that the name that was in the original Nutty Professor? I don't even think so.
I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not sure.
So the Buddy Love type. I'm thinking of the Eddie Murphy Nutty Professor. So anyway, the three of them casted as these aliens is great. I feel like they all play their roles exactly as they should have. Jim Carrey, as we know, is exactly the kind of person who you want to be making crazy faces, doing wild impressions, going with the flow, especially this early in his career where, you know, everything is on limits.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just, the scene where he's like trying to eat the fish off the floor in the house.
He mimics James Dean with the "You're tearing me apart."
Right. Yeah. It's Griffith. Speaking of the Griffith Observatory. And then coming back to Geena Davis and the run that she was on in those years. So she goes from, like Fletch and Tootsie, things like that, and Transylvania 65000, The Fly. And then she starts shooting this, but somehow in between that, like, we've got Beetlejuice and The Accidental Tourist both get released in 88.
Right.
And by the time this comes out, she's Academy Award winner Geena Davis.
Yeah. Amazing. Absolutely amazing. Yeah. She is so incredible. I've watched a few of her movies recently. Even before we decided to do this, I watched like A League of Their Own. And I don't know, it's just like she really was great at, she was so perfectly cast in so many of these roles. And it makes me happy that she did do things like Transylvania 65000, which of course, you're early in your career. It's a little different. But then Earth Girls Are Easy. I feel like, especially coming off of The Fly, it's just like, I just want to have fun for a bit, please.
Yeah. This Beetlejuice.
Yeah.
Like, she's great in Beetlejuice. Everyone's great in Beetlejuice. Come on, who are we kidding? She's, I'm a big Geena Davis. I thought like Thelma and Louise was just like, she's amazing in that. And Long Kiss Goodnight, which we've talked about, which, by the way, when she goes blonde, I don't know about you, but I was like, she's Charlie Baltimore now.
Charlie Baltimore, that's right. Yeah, there's a scene early on where Candy convinces her to go blonde, and in order to seduce her fiance, who hasn't slept with her in 2 weeks, as we learn he's cheating on her, but that what we also learn by that, and by the time when she is like disguised as a doctor or a nurse, is that her fiance, she has a real like Clark Kent situation going on where like the glasses are on and he doesn't recognize her. It's like as soon as she's like slightly disguised, he has no idea who she is.
Well, he's so focused on that, like he's gonna be on the cover of Time magazine, and because he's discovering that they're aliens,
right? Yeah, not that they could just be like guys with two hearts. I don't know, mutation of some sort. Who knows? But he just jumps to aliens. Like that's the obvious answer.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's probably in the medical guidebook. He is a trained doctor, by the way.
It's like, if you don't know what's going on, they're probably aliens.
When in doubt, they're aliens.
Yeah, it's just so much fun. I know that we can just kind of go scene by scene and talk about how great each part is, but
yeah, So, okay, so then where are we going with this? What do we do with Earth Girls Are Easy?
So my idea is definitely just to remake it. But I feel like if it's done by the right people with the right actors in it, then it's going to be an homage as well as a reimagining of it. The problem is we don't have the 80s Valley outlook anymore. So that part might have to be adapted, or it would have to be a period piece or something. I don't know. But I feel like to honor the legacy, Julian Temple's daughter, Juno Temple, should play the Valerie role. I love Juno Temple. She's great. A lot of people might recognize her, especially now, from Ted Lasso. She's been in a lot of really she was in The Dark Knight Rises. She was in a movie with Catherine Hahn called Afternoon Delight. Catherine Hahn, who's having a really big moment lately, thanks to WandaVision. And Juno Temple, I feel like, will be perfect in that type of role. And in terms of the aliens, I want Lil Nas X, the rapper or musician, I guess you can say. I think that he is fantastic. He's super charismatic. He's super funny. And this is the kind of role that is great for like somebody whose personality is like that, but maybe not necessarily is like an actor, but a good way to like get into it is playing an alien who's like, there are no rules and you just be ridiculous. And Lil Nas X is awesome at that. I don't know if you're familiar with Flula Borg, Dan. Do you know Flula Borg?
I am not.
Flula Borg is
I got my Flula Borg shot. Yeah.
Oh. Flula Borg is a very funny comedian and comedic actor who's very physical and silly. He's in the new Suicide Squad movie. He was also in like Pitch Perfect 3. I believe he's of Eastern European descent. I'm not exactly sure where.
Oh, yeah.
He toured with Conan. Like, he's very, very funny and very silly. If you follow any of his social media channels, you'll see why I think he'd be a great alien in the Earth Girls Are Easy verse. And for the Mac character, I would go with Harry Styles. I feel like he's got acting chops, as we know from movies like Dunkirk and stuff like that. But he's also comfortable in his own skin and like a cool guy, very, very talented, and could also really lend himself to performing musical numbers, which I would love to be written by the comedy duo Garfunkel and Oates. And I would have I would have this be directed by Josh Greenbaum, who did Barb and Star Go to Vista Del Mar, because I feel like that's the tone we want.
Oh, yes.
And as we know, Barb and Star Go to Vista Del Mar is in a way a musical. So, it's like, he's got the chops for that. And for the nosy neighbor with the beehive, Maria Bamford.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So
yeah, I see it.
That's what I've got.
All right. So I was similarly thinking about the whole, like, this is very much of the 80s. What do you do? How do you put it in the 80s without just trying to, like, copy it? And, right. Which I think, like, a lot, like, your ideas are avoid that. And,
I hope.
yeah. So I was thinking, I was like, I would love to see this as like an 80s style sitcom, like, and I'm going to reference something like a Out of This World.
Yeah.
If you remember Out of This World, about Evie, whose mother is human, father is alien.
Right.
And she can stop time. So I was thinking, but I was like really super satirical, kind of like some of what they do on WandaVision. I think Josh Greenberg, did you say?
Josh Greenbaum.
Josh Greenbaum, I apologize. So Josh Greenbaum, I actually think would be a great choice. I was thinking that like the alumni of the state would be really good to work on this. And I was thinking about Carrie Kenny as the next door neighbor.
Oh,
and
I forgot my Woody casting.
Oh yeah.
John Gabris
as Woody. Yes, absolutely. Yes.
Past Ruined Childhood's guest, John Gabris.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm totally down with that. I was thinking about like if you had some of the state alumni, or like this is something I think like David Wayans' style could, I don't know if his style is a little more understated than I think what you need for this.
Yeah.
So, but that's kind of who I was thinking. And I was like, make this an 80s style sitcom, just really turn up the volume on the satire.
Well, so what David Wayne is really good at is mocking tropes and like doing it in a way that celebrates them while pointing out how ridiculous a lot of tropes are.
Yeah, I guess, and I was thinking mainly about Wet Hot American Summer and the, subsequent series on Netflix. I was thinking a lot about that. I do think that, I do think that like kind of bringing in some newer voices is a great idea. And I didn't really have any other casting ideas. I was like, Ken Marino might be too old to play Ted. But I was like, wouldn't it? But I was thinking more of the setup, and it's like, what if they decide to stay on Earth? Mac moves in with Valerie. Debo and Whiplock get their own. Please. Zebo, sorry, I was Zebo and Whiplock get their own their own apartment, and so that there you've got like your two places. You've got like your alien bachelor pad, plus you're like, we're a new couple figuring things out with the nosy neighbor. Mm-hmm. The Julie Brown character, Candy, is a great kind of like love interest for Whiplock or Zebo, and I think would like Woody is of course characters named Woody always make for great supporting characters in sitcoms, but I think. Like you've got the rights. And what if it's like Ted, like the ongoing story, like each episode has its different like situation. It's very 80s sitcom-y. And the ongoing thing is maybe Ted and the neighbor are going to get into cahoots and try to prove, because Ted's trying to prove that they're aliens, because of course the pilot in the pilot, that would be where he examines them and hears their heartbeats. Yeah.
I think that it will be really fun. And this would be something good for like, Peacock or something like that, where, you'd have an 80s sitcom made now, like use the cameras that they used in the 80s, like light things using the lights they would have used in the 80s. Don't make everything look so like neat and polished and tidy and everything. Like, give it kind of that 80s sheen and just play it straight without like too many like winks of like it's the 80s, just
like no one. New Coke jokes, like just it is set in the 80s so that you have these stereotypes, or that you have these characters. That is the world in which they exist. So we're not tailoring, like this is about the characters, it's about the situations, and about the the wacky, like, oh, they're really aliens. Which I know, like, also Resident Alien, I think is I haven't watched it yet.
Yeah, with Alan Tudyk. I haven't seen it yet either, but he's great.
But I feel, that seems like a really different, like it's got a really different vibe to it. Whereas I feel like this, and you'd have a musical number each episode.
Jeff Goldblum of this era.
Yeah, no, Geena Davis was replaced by Cyndi Lauper.
Or Julie Brown. Replaced by Cyndi Lauper.
Well,
just because they're
MTV. So, and I like have a musical, have a song each episode, and have have Garfunkel and Oates, get different people.
Then we're kind of getting into like My Crazy Ex-Girlfriend, territory, or is it just Crazy Ex-Girlfriend? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean. Yes, but in that plays it, I think, I don't want to say more seriously, because it doesn't,
but it incorporates funny musical numbers, and Rachel Bloom, is that who that is? Who does that one? She's terrific, so get her involved. Yeah, get her involved with this. I mean, seriously, I don't know. I'm just the idea guy here. I'm not putting any names on the project yet. Yeah.
I don't make the deals. I just make them reels.
Oh my God. So one thing that actually would be really fun is...
I don't even know what that meant.
Yeah, I don't know what that meant either. One thing that would be really fun, and I don't know how possible any of this would be because I don't know the nature of their relationship, but if there was some sort of sequel about... Valerie and Mac now, all of these years later, what's that like? What's life like? I forget the name of their home planet, but like maybe they're there and she's adapted to the culture. It's over, 30 years ago, but yeah, I don't know. Maybe there's something to that.
Sounds like the Last Starfighter. Where they return. So, and before we leave this, we should note that there was a stage musical adaptation, and there were some semi quasi performances, some workshop performances of it, and Julie Brown, as in 2001, that was when this they were starting to kind of get it up on its feet. That was when you had so Julie Brown played Candy, Kristen Chenoweth played Valerie.
Okay.
Mark Kudish played Ted, and Hunter Foster played Mac. Yeah, I mean, like, they just did like stagings to find investors for the show.
Got it.
And it featured a lot of 80s songs. There's actually some there are some clips on YouTube. And however, like, when they started staging this, it was like right after 9/11, and that was I mean, I don't know if that was like the only factor involved, but you know, it just was not the right time.
Right.
But the songs were all 80s songs, including some songs that are heard in the movie, like the B-52s Cosmic Thing.
Oh yeah.
From their album Cosmic Thing, but also the B-52 song Rome, which could be my favorite B-52 song.
It's a great song.
Is in that. Oh yeah, so good. So was in there. The True Colors, speaking of Cyndi Lauper, Atomic. There are a couple of Blondie songs in here. Atomic, Heart of Glass, plus the Julie Brown originals, Brand New Girl. I Like 'Em Big and Stupid because I'm a blonde.
Right.
Should Have Known Better. Ted sings Should Have Known Better. Oh, by my boy Richard Marx.
Yeah. So
one
thing that we didn't really mention is or I don't know if you really picked up on this so much, but you know, Julie Brown, it seems like she's really lampooning people like Madonna at the time, and it seems like she's got it in for Madonna. There's a moment where Valerie throws a Madonna record, which is presumably Ted's, like into a fire, and
it's the Who's That Girl soundtrack, by the way.
It was the Who's That Girl soundtrack, and it's like, I wonder if that came up on the set of The League of Their Own. Like, excuse me, by the way, what the hell was that about?
Wait, was Julie Brown in A League of Their Own?
No, but Madonna was.
No. Oh, with Geena Davis.
With Geena Davis,
yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh, well.
Oh, well.
Good point. So, yeah, I don't know. Oh, well, good point. Yeah.
Yeah, no.
Oh, wait, so hold on a second. Hold the phone. Julie Brown had her own. Sorry, I thought for a moment that there was a TV adaptation of Earth Girls Are Easy, but it was just the Julie Brown show, the Julie show.
Got it.
That she did. So, yeah. So she got her start from Lily Tomlin. Lily Tomlin kind of
right. I heard about that. Saw her on the stand-up scene or something like that. And I know that she also had some of her stuff played by like Dr. Demento. So yeah, what a cool era of, like, I don't know, the burgeoning comedy music scene. You know, it's like
Tracy Ullman in the 80s too.
Tracy Ullman, yeah, you really had like a lot of
that.
People really defining what that was going to look like moving into the future. I mean, especially Weird Al, but yeah.
I mean, how many people have really picked up on that? Like, in the same way that they have. Like, I think of comedy musicians. I think of someone like, you know, Richard Cheese, who just does.
Speaking about Barb and Star.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Who does, you know, comedic versions of songs. The Dan Band, who kind of do the same. They do, you know, songs originally sung by women, and they do them. So
add profanities to them.
You know them from Old School. The wedding band in Old School.
I think a lot of Todd Phillips movies, I think they might have done stuff like The Hangover.
Yeah, they were definitely in one of those. So anyway, so Earth Girls Are Easy. I had a good time revisiting this one.
Yeah, it's great fun. As soon as we decided to do it, I was like, great. That means I get to watch it. I'm very excited about that. You know, it's not a movie that, like, it doesn't like play like a movie really. Like the stakes aren't as important, you know, like Ted is kind of just like the only reason why, you know, she is even like in the story debating about like wanting to be with him or not, I feel like is mostly just to get him back in the scenes and to create more of a threat, because like, you know, she's this character who just thinks that the goal is to like, you know, marry a doctor and just live your life in the valley and sit by a pool. And it's like, she's clearly not that kind of person. And she's being tested in that by these aliens, by Mac, who, you know, shows her that there's, you know, there's more to life than that. There's a whole galaxy to be explored. So I don't know.
Literally.
It's fun. It's just kind of fun. And like, because Ted is such an insane character and is played perfectly, I don't know. It just makes it work in a way that like, even when he does come back, you're just like, oh God, this guy, what's he going to get into now? It's that type of situation.
Exactly. Very sitcom-y.
Very sitcom-y. Yeah.
Indeed.
Yeah.
All right. So, John, any final words on Earth Girls Are Easy before I unveil our next film of choice?
I don't have anything else to say about Earth Girls Are Easy, but I neglected to mention how much I appreciate Cesar Gracia coming on the last episode to talk Zorro with you. That was a late edit in, working things out timing wise is difficult between the Pacific Northwest and where he is in Miami. So I'm glad that worked out. And
he's a toddler dad too. So
is he? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So I feel like what he said was so awesome to just hear his perspective, somebody who really grew up with the Disney Zorro series.
Yeah.
And he mentioned some of the same people and some of the same things that we had talked about later after that segment in the episode, but we hadn't recorded that yet. So, you know, talking about like, I think Diego Luna came up and and talking about like a Batman Begins-y type of, you know.
Oh, I love that idea.
Yeah. So, but that's what came up. That's what Robert Rodriguez's idea was to do. At a certain point, that was kind of like shot down. So,
well, also the story he shared about Guy Williams and the guy who played Sergeant Garcia,
right?
Like, touring in South America.
That's fascinating. And I love the idea that came up about, you know, having a movie about that story. And I thought that was really smart. And I'm sure it would be a lot of fun. So anyway,
it was a blast.
I really appreciate Caesar coming on, and I'm glad that worked out.
Absolutely, as am I, and hope we can make it happen again.
Yeah. So Dan, let's talk about the next episode.
Yeah. So next episode is one of a comedy that has become a classic. I think is considered a classic and just ultimate, like so rewatchable. It's 1992's My Cousin Vinny, starring Joe Pesci and Academy Award winner Marissa Tomei.
Controversially,
Fred Gwynn. Yeah. Controversially, but I gotta tell you,
we'll get into it.
Yeah, we'll get into it. But yeah, so I'm excited to talk about that. Another one that I saw at the Westfield Rialto.
Jeez. Yeah, well, Dan, as you speed away in a, I don't know what you'd even call it, retro, crazy looking Pee-wee's Playhouse spaceship, I bid you a good journey.
Good journey.